Alright YouTube, we're back. We've got the part 2 of the cat loader quick coupler rebuild. So I've got all my parts cut on the plasma table, and so what we're going to do is we're going to go and assemble it. So what I did here, let me see if I can flip this around. What I did here was, you know, these T1 plates were pretty rusty. It was the only one they had. They didn't have any newer sheets, which is fine. You know, just takes a little bit of time to clean them up. As you can see, they're pretty clean. What we do is we use the surface prep machine from Harbor Freight. That dang thing works actually pretty good. I'm actually quite impressed with that thing. I've used it for all kinds of different things. You know, they've got different wheels for the different grits. You know, works really good for polishing aluminum or, you know, cleaning the rust off of material or descaling material. The black wheel will pull the mill scale off of the plate pretty easily. You know, if you go at it a little bit, but you know, I don't need to do that. What we're going to do is some dual shield. So I got all the parts prepped out that we're going to use. The old bosses, the little threaded pin for the pin keeper. This is a different pin, but it's the same size, and you'll see kind of how wallowed out these are. But we'll use this to get it roughly aligned. Anyhow, in our pieces here, you know, as you can see, these fit right in, nice and snug, and then we'll weld these. We'll get them spaced accordingly, of course, and then we'll weld them with the pin in them, you know, from part to part. That way they stay pretty well lined up, and then you know, we'll weld them out. So now what we got to do, so I'm going to lay these down. I think we got to start with this plate on there, and then this plate here. We'll get this one on there, get everything squared up, and then we can install these, and then these are the bottom pieces that go around that. Originally it was a piece of 1/2 inch that was bent. I don't have the die big enough for my brake to do 1/2 inch at this time. You know, this brake would do it, but the biggest die I've got is like a 4-inch die, and it's just not big enough. It might do it, but I don't want to break anything. You have a die break on you, and it's like a bomb going off. Stuff's hard, and so don't want to do that. I might be looking for some smaller dies. That big die is a pain in the ass to get into that die anyway, especially by yourself. It's 10 foot, so I need to get some shorter ones so I can put them in there by myself a little easier. But anyway, so that's what we're going to do, and this will actually be a little stronger. We'll make that bottom piece that was bent out of this 3/4 out of these 3 pieces, change it a little bit, but it'll be actually stiffer. You know, with these, as you can see, I don't know if you can see that, but the cut that this plasma puts out, this plasma table, and this is not a high-end plasma table by any means. It's just a burn tables plasma table with a it's a Hypertherm 105, and you know, I do up to 1.5 inches on it, and it works pretty good. So what we'll do is set this up, and we'll start assembling everything. And once I get it assembled and the parts tacked together, you know, we'll bring you back, and then we'll kind of do a time lapse, I think, of just welding it out. But you know, this is going to take a couple minutes to get everything kind of straightened out. I just wanted to show you kind of the process. You know, you disassemble the part, then you got to program all these into the CAD software, and then cut it out, clean it up, bring it in here, and then you know, kind of reassemble. So it's a bit of a process doing it and getting it right. On these pieces here, I actually did make a test cut out of some 16 gauge sheet I had, and then test fit it, make sure it was right, made sure all my measurements were correct, because this one's pretty crucial that all these slots and everything line up correctly to make everything fit right. So it's always kind of nice to have some real thin stuff on hand. You know, that's not real expensive. This plate here is almost $3,000 for a 4x8, so you don't really want to make a screw up cut on this stuff. You know, it'll set you back. So, you know, it's easier to just waste a, you know, $40 sheet than you know, $3,000 sheet. So that's kind of the way I do it. You know, so yeah. Anyway, we'll bring you back when we got it all put together, and we'll go from there. Alright, sorry guys, I got a little carried away here. I just started working. So what I did was I cut this piece, put it in. We got a couple passes on it already. So what I did actually on this one was I stuck it in the lathe, turned it down, so I got my bevel on it, so I could get 100% weld there. And here, I put this plate in. I actually ended up shimming it up, so it was at the appropriate height. Welded it in, tacked it on the back side, tacked it on the front so it doesn't move. And then I did the same thing, got this pipe in. And it's got a couple passes on it already. Actually, this one might have 3 passes. I welded that one out pretty good before I realized I needed to make a video, update video on this anyway. So it's coming along. So once these pipes get welded out fully, you know, I got to weld these out fully. So what I'm going to do is weld the one side. I mean, it's pretty much 3/4 welded out on all these. I need to weld, I think everything else here is good. So I'm going to weld those out, and then I'm going to put this back plate out that I cut out here. That goes here, connects to this pipe, that and that. That'll be tacked and welded on the bottom. So I think what I'll do is just tack it, you know, pretty good on the sides here where it connects, because it did, it was welded in here along the sides. So I'll get it tacked in pretty good, and then I'm going to flip this whole thing over, and then we'll place these. We'll put the bosses. And, you know, we're at the home stretch at that point. You know, we've got a lot of the headaches done. And then we got to finish fabricating this piece here that comes out. So you use these pieces here. So what we'll do is we'll put a piece here, weld it in, one here and one there, weld it all the way out. And that bottom will actually be a lot stronger than it was with just the 1/2 inch that it was kind of rolled. It wasn't really bent. I mean, it was kind of janky the way it was. So what I ended up doing was I squared it like you would square anything else. Just take a normal reference point, you know. And what I did was I referenced this piece here to the front edge of that pipe, this piece to the front edge of this, the known points, squared it up, and then I put this piece in, and then I had another piece tacked in here and another piece tacked along the front, and got it all square, tacked into place. And then that's how I knew this was square to put these pipes in, and flat. You know, it's on a 1 inch flat piece of plate, so it's not. It's going to be flat. This table's pretty damn flat. So yeah, I mean, coming along pretty good. We're just rocking some Lincoln dual shield in the ESOB. You know, this stuff works pretty good for this. It's the Ultra Core dual shield. I haven't had any chance to get the Lincoln 7 yet to try it out, but I hear it's pretty good. Yeah, I've got quite a few rolls of the Lincoln Ultra Core left still to run through. Just doesn't. There we go. Okay. So, I don't know, this is kind of what I'm running for speeds and feeds and whatnot. This machine's actually pretty nice. You know, you can weld heavy stuff all day long with it, and it's actually water cooled. It was the first water cooled machine I've had the privilege of running, so it doesn't overheat on you. I've burned up that Miller there. It's like a Miller 35. It's a similar model, but it didn't like the dual shield. It died pretty quick. So we ended up getting this ESOB unit, you know, for the shop. It runs on 3-phase. It's a pretty nice unit, actually. And then in my truck, I just run it out of an LN25 or it's a Profax 1VS, which is basically the equivalent of the Miller 12VS, but a lot cheaper. It was about, when I bought it a couple years ago, it was like $2,200 new with a Bernard gun, and the Miller equivalent was like almost $4,000. Now they're $6,000 or whatever the hell they are. They're real pricey now. But yeah, I've got 4 LN25s, so I probably won't buy another wire feeder for a while. The LN25s are pretty bulletproof. But yeah, so what we did was we beveled this plate also here, so when that goes on, it'll kind of match down onto this pipe a little bit better. Yeah, everything's lining up pretty good. So I'll flip this guy over, and once I get that top plate in, I'll kind of show you what that looks like. This is actually the back. Yeah, this is the back, and it flips over, and yeah, the hooks come onto here, and then your pins. Or no, this is the front. Yeah, this is the front. This is the piece that goes against your attachments. It's been a long day, so yeah, we'll bring you back. Alright, so we got these welded out, put the plate on, got the other side welded, about 3/4. We got to flip it, flip it and get this stuff done. But yeah, this is welded out, ready to flip over. It's all dual shield, like I just said earlier. And then we'll start putting these pieces in. But a lot better than it was. It's straight at least now. Respirator's running out of juice. Yelling at me. But yeah, got all this all welded out, ready to flip over. Probably flip it over and then test fit the parts, call it a night. It's already getting pretty late. this is where we're at. We just got a little bit left. Oh, pointing at the wrong thing here. Got a little bit left here, over here. And we gotta fit the other parts in now. So I'll bring you back when we got that fitted on there, and we'll see how they look. Well, I ran out of time. Well, running out of time. I got to get this thing installed tomorrow, so I just went ahead. I didn't film much of it, but I just put it together and started banging it out. Sorry I didn't get much more of it filmed, but this is kind of where we're at now. I've just got to do all the inside welds. Just setting it up straight. So I can get to it a little bit better, a little easier. Flip it over, get this welded. This thing's going to be pretty bomb-proof, once we're done welding it out. It's turned out really nice. I think they're going to be real happy with it. Mostly because the fact that it's not broken, but yeah, it's really beefy this time, so if they break it now, it's going to be through an act of God. This thing is better than new. So, but yeah, came out pretty good. Everything fit like a glove. Got it in there. A lot thicker than it was. This stuff like that, little stuff, was real thin before, but it's all real beefy now. Like even this brace here, I remade that out of 3/4. It was 3/16, I believe. It was pretty thin. But just go overkill. These guys are pretty hard on stuff. And then just welded the shit out of it. Like this, all this stuff here, this was just 1/2 inch. Now it's all 3/4, triple pass welds on everything. Everything. At least 2 passes, where there wasn't much room. Like those. We still got to weld these, all this stuff in here. We'll get that all welded solid. All this stuff, just get it to where it's a little bit easier to weld. Welding this dual shield uphill kind of sucks when the material is pretty hot. So, like right now, you can't even touch it. It's so hot. But yeah, like this here, we'll get 3 passes in here, maybe 4. So, yeah. Coming along, but I got to get this done tonight. It's about 9 o'clock. But I've got to still get this done and get some paint on it before I go home tonight. That way we can get this thing installed tomorrow morning. We still got to put new bushings on the machine. And then put this in, all new pins. So it's good to go for another 20 years, hopefully. Cool. We'll bring you back when it's probably when we're installing it tomorrow. Bring you back. All right. Here it is, painted up. Ran out of yellow, but we had plenty of black. So, ready to go. Kind of a time crunch, or else I'd go get more yellow paint. They're not going to care either way, but at least it's got some paint on it so it won't rust, primer and paint anyway. So ready to go. Pretty major rebuild, but we got her done. Came out pretty good. Everything lines up, so it's what you can want. Anyway, we'll bring you back once we got her on the machine, hooked up to an attachment. Alright, so this is it. Slapped it all together. It's on there. New pins, new bushings. Pretty nice. So I got these up here. I just got to trim this a little bit, and these are going to go right down on where they need to go. So I was off by a little bit, not too bad for my math from a pretty broken, twisted part. Not too bad. But yeah, I was surprisingly close. And these are gonna, this side's gonna fit really good. Just need to, I'll just take the torch and trim that, just to notch that just a hair, and that should come up and fit pretty good. So you can kind of visualize where this is at now. You know, then these are gonna go in here, space those, weld those in, put our pin, and then this pile of parts here is going to go for this piece here. There's a piece that goes right up underneath this, one down. You can kind of see the grind marks. So one like this, one down, one in, all welded out, and it'll actually weld to this and be tied across the whole thing. So not too bad. And these are where the hydraulic quick couplers connect. They bolt through and then hook up to the hydraulic cylinder. There's a cylinder that goes in here. I got to put those pin pieces back in there. We'll do those actually first before we weld these in place. Put the cross member, put, you know, the cylinder and everything back in, and we got to weld this plate out from the bottom. But actually it's coming along pretty good. We're almost done. And then what we'll do is I'm going to sandblast this thing, get it all cleaned up. Probably going to take that cat sticker off, or the stamp off of it, now that it's not really a cat, and then we'll put one of ours on it. That way I know this is the one that I did for warranty reasons. And then we'll paint it probably gray, company color, and then we'll give it back to them. Almost done. Alright guys, we're back in the morning. Finish this up hopefully. I've got a couple things I got to do on this, get this thing kind of done, and then I got to go out in the field. I got a job. We're setting some posts for some handrail, but my helper doesn't get in until a little later today. So we're going to try to do is get this knocked out. And what I already went and did, I just test fit this to see what I had to do for the other side. And what I did was I actually decided to trim it here, down this side here, to get it to fit. And actually I cut about a little over an 1/8 of an inch off, and it actually fits perfectly in here, as you can see. I mean, it's like a glove. So you know, and it fits in there, and let's see if we can see that. I mean, just perfectly fits down flush on the bottom. So what I did here is I've got my straight edge out, and we're just going to trim this here, you know, just with the torch, and trim that off and fit these in. Once they fit good, then I'll place all the other pieces in here first. I'll actually take this back out and fit all the other stuff in here, finish welding it out. We'll grind our stops here, and then that way we can ensure we got a good weld all the way across. We'll weld these out, weld everything out, and then we'll put these in last. So we're not fighting it, trying to get everything else in here, and then we'll do the pins. So let's see if I can get this camera set up to where you can see what I'm doing here, and we'll go from there. We'll see if this works. Something like that. Should work. Tip's a little dirty, but that's all right. Trim a little bit less off this side than what I did on that side, just to get a little bit tighter of a fit. So we'll see if this fits. Fits in there real nice and tight. Just what we want. Alright. Let's bring it over here. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. As you see, that fits perfect. You see a little bit of a gap I got on the other side. I kind of wanted to try to avoid that, make it a little easier to weld. But yeah, fits good. Sometimes you got to do that when you're putting stuff, that's into a CNC program. Sometimes you get off by a little bit, which it happens. So now that we got these fit, what we're going to do is we're going to take these off, and then we're going to fit all the internal pieces for the ram, put the pins back in, get everything set, and then we'll be good to go. All right, we'll bring you back once I got all that tacked in place. I'll kind of show you what I'm doing there, and then we'll go and we'll weld it all out and then put these back in. Well, I ran out of time. Well, running out of time. I got to get this thing installed tomorrow, so I just went ahead. I didn't film much of it, but I just put it together and started banging it out. Sorry I didn't get much more of it filmed, but this is kind of where we're at now. We've just got to do all the inside welds, just setting it up straight, so I could get to it a little bit better, a little easier. Flip it over, get this welded. This thing's going to be pretty bomb-proof, once we're done welding it out. It's turned out really nice. I think they're going to be real happy with it. Mostly because the fact that it's not broken, but it's really beefy this time. So if they break it now, it's going to be through an act of God. This thing is better than new. So, but yeah, came out pretty good. Everything fit like a glove. Got it in there. A lot thicker than it was. This like stuff like that, little stuff. Was real thin before, but it's all real beefy now. Like even this brace here, I remade that out of 3/4. It was 3/16, I believe. It was pretty thin. But just go overkill. These guys are pretty hard on stuff. And then just welded the shit out of it. Like this. All this stuff here, this was just 1/2 inch. Now it's all 3/4, triple pass welds on everything. Everything. At least 2 passes, where there wasn't much room. Like those. We still got to weld these, all this stuff in here. We'll get that all welded solid. All this stuff, just get it to where it's a little bit easier to weld. Welding this dual shield uphill kind of sucks when the material is pretty hot. So, like right now, you can't even touch it. It's so hot. But like this here, we'll get 3 passes in here, maybe 4. So, yeah, coming along, but I got to get this done tonight. It's about 9 o'clock, but I've got to still get this done and get some paint on it before I go home tonight. That way we can get this thing installed tomorrow morning. We still got to put new bushings on the machine, and then put this in, all new pins. So it's good to go for another 20 years, hopefully. Cool. We'll bring you back when it's probably when we're installing it tomorrow. Bring you back. All right. Here it is. Painted up. Ran out of yellow, but we had plenty of black. So, ready to go. Kind of a time crunch, or else I'd go get more yellow paint. They're not going to care either way, but at least it's got some paint on it so it won't rust, primer and paint anyway. So ready to go. Pretty major rebuild, but we got her done. Came out pretty good. Everything lines up, so it's what you can want. Anyway, we'll bring you back once we got her on the machine, hooked up to an attachment. Alright, so this is it. Slapped it all together. It's on there. New pins, new bushings. Pretty nice.